side of the street at 2 days old. How would that make you feel? Probably like trash. You were left on the side of the street like garbage. You were found, and you were given a loving family. But for the rest of your life, you would be doubting your self-worth and having trouble trusting the people around you. This is exactly what happened to an adopted girl who wished to remain anonymous, that bravely shared her story in Confessions of an Adoptee. There are many with similar stories, and others who are not so lucky as to have somewhere to call home. But anything we can do to help them through their life journey would mean the world to them. I can remember that I have, as early as middle school, had an unexplained desire to adopt. Since then, I've watched documentaries about stories of adoptees, and more recently, I've extended my research and looked farther into the need for adoption, why people do and do not adopt, and the rewards of adopting. There is certainly an overwhelming amount of children and teens without permanent homes and loving and supporting families. It is best that we can do to learn how we can positively impact these children's lives and follow through. We all know that foster kids are in unfortunate situations, but it seems that we don't know how dire their need for help is. Foster children without foster families often don't even have a fraction of support that they need to achieve their life dreams. According to the National Foster Youth Institute, those who age out of the system at 18 are especially at risk because 20% leave homeless, and only half will find employment by the age of 24. In the book, Life After Foster Care, Courtney and Dorsky define 4 different types of support: emotional, tangible, material aid, and informational and affection. The perception of support is also needed. Tangible material aid, like a space to sleep or a ride to a doctor's appointment, will likely be provided by the foster care system. Informational support, which aids problem solving, could also be partly provided. But finding emotional support and affection in a government-run system seems highly unlikely. These children are receiving only the most basic support while they're in foster care. And what's worse is the average child waiting for an adoptive family is waiting for an adoptive family for more than 3 years, according to the Adoption and Foster Care Analysis and Reporting System. The average age of children waiting to be adopted is 8. Think about that. That means a significant amount of kids younger than 8 are spending an important part of their life feeling confused, alone, and unsure of their future. I can't speak for you all, but at age 8, I was most worried about finishing the last page of math homework before I went to dance classes and whether I would be able to sit next to my best friend at lunch. I definitely wasn't thinking about the day that I would be able to come home to a family. That was a given. It's clear that there are many foster children waiting for a loving home, and there seems to be a simple solution: foster or adopt. While this could easily solve many of the problems that I speak of, it isn't necessarily feasible. It's not that we don't have a decent amount of people considering adopting, but we don't have enough people going through with it. According to Kenny Johns' report found on Adoption Network, more than a third of Americans have considered adopting, but only 2% have gone through with it. Those who have considered adopting are often deterred by the myths and stigmas surrounding adoption, and especially foster care. They don't think they'll be able to parent a child who has been scarred by events earlier in their life and who have behavior problems. It's too expensive. They doubt their ability to connect with and love a child who isn't biologically related to them. While these are all valid worries that can be expected of anyone who is considering adopting, these problems they pose aren't as severe as they seem to be. Foster children are expected to have emotional responses to their situation. So yes, it would be a little difficult at first. But when they see that they have a family that loves and supports them, reactive emotions will stabilize. The cost of adoption can be daunting, but if you are adopting through the foster care system, there is little to no cost. And if you're worried about connection and love, just know that is fully possible, and connection will be what you make of it. Giving a healthy, regularized environment to foster children, or possibly even a permanent home, can help them live the early years of their life the way they should. Krista Silts shares a story that illustrates the way her foster child's life drastically changed for the better. Mickey Taylor began in a horrifically abusive childhood. She lived with her siblings and her father, and her mother was in and out of her life. Her bedroom was an unfinished garage that was often used for her father's drug deals and other business. But by the age of 14, she had enough and came forward. She was soon placed into a foster home, and immediately things started to look brighter. Her foster mother noticed her respectful attitude and her connection to her children. Mickey created meaningful bonds with her family and started participating in normal teenage activities. She became involved in the Youth Life organization and started playing softball and making new friends. This is what one family did for a child, and as you can see, it has made a huge difference. In conclusion, it is needless to say that there are many foster children waiting to be adopted. However, the calls for help from children here and around the world aren't loud enough for us to do more about it. There are hundreds of children waiting to be adopted in the US alone, and 150 million around the world. Odds are that all of us will have an opportunity to encourage someone to adopt or consider adopting ourselves. But here's what I'm not asking you to do. I'm not asking you to adopt simply because I tell you to. I'm not telling you to tell anyone else who is considering starting a family that adoption is definitely the best option. But I do ask that you keep an open mind and think twice before you make unfair assumptions about those who are adopted. I ask that if you know anyone or if you yourself is interested in adopting, that you be proactive about it and look into it. And if nothing else, volunteer, donate, and help fight the stigma surrounding foster care and adoption. Every little bit helps. As Nelson Mandela once said, there can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way in which it treats its children. Before I finish, I ask you this. What does our society's soul reveal about us?